Thanks very much, dear Vice Chair, dear members of the European Parliament, dear representatives of the European Commission and representatives of port authorities and regional authorities, dear colleagues. It's a pleasure to speak today on behalf of the Conference of Peripheral Maritime Region, which includes more than 150 maritime regions and islands. I would like to thank SEArica Group and Vice Chair Nina Carberi for organizing this discussion on the future of the European Union port strategy. From the perspective of CPMR regions, ports must be understood not only as transportation infrastructures, but as strategic territorial assets that shape economic development, connectivity, and resilience across Europe's maritime areas. Ports are often seen as gateways, but for CPMR regions, they play a far broader role, acting as essential infrastructure that sustain economic life and ensure the connection of territories to the rest of Europe. The reality is particularly evident in peripheral, maritime, and island regions where ports are needful to everyday connectivity and economic continuity. In these territories, ports are not simply another element of the transport network. They are precondition for territorial cohesion and competitiveness. Their performance directly affects access to market, the function of supply chains, and the attractiveness of region for investment and employment. This is why the forthcoming EU port strategy represents a crucial opportunity. For the CPMR, it must adopt a place-based approach, recognizing that ports operate with different geographical, economic, and social contexts across Europe's maritime basins. A single approach would risk overlooking the specific challenge and contributions of many regional ports. Ports are deeply embedded in regional development ecosystems. They interact with industry, with energy production, with tourism, fisheries, and logistics, while depending on effective hinterland connections and territorial planning. On the other hand, regional authorities therefore play a central role in ensuring coherence between the port development, environmental objectives, and local economic needs. The regional dimension becomes even more important in the context of Europe's current transitions. Ports are expected to contribute simultaneously to competitiveness, decarbonization, and resilience. These expectations are legitimate, but they require first, predictable investments frameworks, and second, governance models that actively involve regions in planning and implementation. Island regions illustrate this reality particularly well. For islands such as Crete, which is my island in South Greece, the port and the airports are the main interface with the European continent. Ports, especially for goods and materials. They ensure continuity of economic activity, social cohesion, and territorial accessibility. Drawing on my experience as former CEO of the Port of Heraklion in the island of Crete, I can say that port infrastructure in island territories is not simply a logistic issue, but a structural factor shaping regional development and resilience. Island ports face specific constraints linked to geography, limited space, and higher operating costs, while being expected to adapt rapidly to decarbonization, digitalization, and security requirements. Without targeted and flexible support, there is a real risk that these ports fall behind despite their essential role of Europe's territorial balance. For these reasons, the CPMR believes that the European Union port strategy must explicitly recognize the role of island and peripheral ports as multifunctional infrastructure serving entire territories. This implies ensuring fair access to European funding instruments, better alignment with the Connecting Europe facility, and closer articulation with cohesion policy objectives. For example, funding for digitalization, decarbonization, maintenance of harbour infrastructure. More broadly, the CPMR calls for a European port policy that values strategic function beyond their size. A resilient and secure European waterborne and port system depends on diversity and territorial coverage, not only on a limited number of large hubs. To conclude, the European port strategy and industrial maritime strategy will be key instrument to strengthen Europe's competitiveness, sustainability, and resilience. Their success will depend on the capacity to anchor European objectives in regional realities, to ensure adequate and accessible funding, and to fully integrate the region as partners in delivery. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, George, and flexibility is underlined as well for support as well. On our second of our panellists, we